Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we have to talk today about the Chicago Blackhawks. So there's been a lot more news coming out of Chicago since last week. There was a lot going on last week, and unfortunately, that storyline continues this week. So we're going to go over the latest on their GM search. Supposedly, they've been looking at some guys in baseball. Are they looking for a Moneyball situation here in Chicago? Unfortunately, we got some more really bad news on the athletic trainer in the AHL who was fired. Apparently, there have been some accusations against them. And we also talk about some trade rumors in Chicago, so we'll be going over all of that today. We have a whole palette for you. We have the meat and potatoes. We got the side of the green beans. We got all that for you today. So we're going to start off with the news involving their GM search. That is the main point of today's video, so I might as well start there. So the Chicago Blackhawks have interviewed the Chicago Cubs, the baseball team, their assistant general manager, Jeff Greenberg. So this is from Puck Report NHL. They're a really good source on Instagram. Make sure to check them out. This is the news. The Chicago Blackhawks have interviewed Cubs assistant general manager Jeff Greenberg for their vacant GM position. He joins, I know people love hearing these names, Peter Chiarelli at the top of the list. Peter Chiarelli, Kyle Davidson, Scott Mellenby, and Eric Tulsky as candidates to have interviewed so far. So this is breaking news. We knew that they were, this was from Elliot Friedman earlier this week. There are rumors that Chicago is going to interview people in the baseball world for their GM vacancy, which they have, and now we could actually put a name to it, because up to this point, there hasn't been a name, say my name, there hasn't been a name at this point to tie with the GM job. Now it is an internal guy inside of Chicago, Jeff Greenberg. Now, I don't know how necessarily this would work. I assume they're pretty similar positions. Yeah, that's very outside of what we typically see. So, very interesting. If the Blackhawks do decide to go that direction, a very interesting move. Something that I was not necessarily expecting. So there's something there. Now this is where we get to the more interesting stuff. So this is from Darren Dreger. Sources indicate Peter Chiarelli has been contacted by the Chicago Blackhawks and the interview for their hockey operations vacancy, among others. This could more very quickly interviewing process for GM expected to begin this weekend into early next week. And that was from TSN's Insider Trading. So if he goes into hockey ops, it's a similar position to what he had in St. Louis, which I believe he is still with the Blues. I'm not certain on that. He may have moved. But Peter Chiarelli, he obviously has a very interesting background, to say the least, in his time with the Boston Bruins, where he did win a Stanley Cup in 2011. Let's be fair. In 2011, he was a big part of the downfall of the Edmonton Oilers, trading out star first-round draft picks, trading out Jeff Petrie, really the end of Nail Yakupov, Jordan Eberle, Taylor Hall, all that stuff. That all happened under his belt. So, Peter Chiarelli, yeah, it's been rough, and a lot of people just are just salivating at the thought of everything that the Blackhawks ownership has been through recently, that they deserve a GM like Chiarelli, and I can't say I agree with that. I don't think that's right, but man, not great news if you're a Blackhawks fan. So this is from Elliot Friedman. So Jamie Faulkner, who's running the GM search in Chicago, she has a history in baseball. I heard rumors they were going to interview people in baseball, in the baseball world, for the GM job. They'll interview people outside of hockey, and I'm wondering if there's any chance of that. So this was earlier into what inevitably has led to an actual name out there, being Jeff Greenberg of the Chicago Cubs. So that's a very interesting stance, and I think that's something that, again, we're seeing a little bit of a different look in Chicago, even though the upper tier is still the same, the ownership and the CEO, which some people aren't too thrilled about. But that is at least a breath of fresh air, if it means anything to those Blackhawks fans, which I know I know. It's been rough. I absolutely understand. So now this is from Scott Powers. So the Chicago Blackhawks forward Dominic Kubalik will likely be on the move. Dominic Kubalik, as soon as last offseason in the summer of 2021, was off limits, and the Blackhawks really didn't want to trade him. They saw him as a guy that could play in the top six. He's been pretty good with the Blackhawks in his time, yet I think this season the Blackhawks have kind of changed the narrative on Kubalik. Maybe it's best for him and the organization to look elsewhere. He is a restricted free agent, and that is probably the biggest reason why the Blackhawks are looking that way, because maybe long term they just don't see him as a fit on their organization in the future plans. So what would the price be for Dominic Kubalik? And the problem is you don't have a manager. You don't have a GM yet to make that move. You want to have Rocky Wirtz make that move? We'll see how that goes. So that's something that absolutely will be a topic of discussion. There's been a lot of guys thrown around Chicago, Dylan Strome, Calvin DeHaan, really the more realistic names, as well as who I've made videos about this week, Alex DeBrincat out in Chicago could be another very interesting name for a lot of different reasons. But I think that's something that legitimately is an option for the Blackhawks. I think the Blackhawks are looking to reload this year. They're looking to kind of continue the rebuild. And the problem is they were already kind of tearing it down with Stan Bowman, yet now it's just a new philosophy in the room, and we'll probably see a little bit more rebuilding, which isn't obviously the best thing for the fans. They think they've been waiting long enough, so it's got to be a little bit frustrating with everything going on there. But it's kind of where we're at right now. So this is the last thing I want to talk about, and this is from Emily Kaplan yesterday, or at least from when I made this video. So the Blackhawks have fired Rockford Ice Hogs the athletic trainer, DJ Jones, in November for sexual harassment of ice crew member in 2014. So it just never ends. It just never ends in Chicago. And I watched the Steve Dangle podcast, which I have been listening to them a little bit recently. There was obviously, I think they brought up some really good points. And I think the problem is with the Blackhawks, no matter you moved on from Bowman, you moved on from obviously the guy that did all of this, but there is just so much else that is a problem, because I think what Rocky Wirtz was hoping for is he would never hear a question again about that incident with Kyle Beach. I think he was just hoping that would go under the rug because he paid off the lawyers and everything else to kind of push it under the rug. He paid his money out, and this would all go to bed, and we would never hear from this again. Yet, unfortunately, the public vision of this is just completely soured. The 2011 Stanley Cup run, and now even further, now 2014. Just the problem is with the way Rocky Wirtz reacted in that interview with Mark Lazarus of The Athletic, a really good interview, a good reporter, just disrespected him, completely went off, and who in the management team, when they found out about this, was going to say something to that guy? You know, I'm rich, I'm going to give you money, and your job is to fix it. And it means basically he does nothing. He has no accountability. He has no sense of anything other than being a rich dude that pays off. When he has an issue, you pay it off, right? Oh, the window, somebody's throwing rocks through the window. All right, have somebody come over, pay them to do it, and fix it. But this is not like that. You can't just fix the window and voila, it's over. That is not how this type of thing works. And they say money buys happiness. That may not necessarily be the case, especially if you saw that interview. And unfortunately, kind of shows the representation of the Chicago Blackhawks. And then the next interviewer, who I don't know his name, but he was asking about the attendance. What's wrong with the attendance in Chicago? Season ticket holders are worried that their season ticket sale value will go down for next season if they God forbid they had to sell the ticket package, they would go down in value. What do you have to say to them? And basically he blew that off as well. And that just shows you the leadership and, unfortunately, the misdirection of the Chicago Blackhawks right now. And unfortunately, we're kind of seeing the circle of life here. Rocky Wirtz took over his dad because he would not televise games on TV. He thought that if games were on TV, that fans wouldn't go to the games. Well, that was Rocky Wirtz that ended that. And before the Blackhawks almost went into the dark hole of extinction, Rocky Wirtz took over from his father and inevitably saved the Blackhawks, got them TV deals so they could be featured on TV, and basically saved the Blackhawks. Now it looks like his son, Danny Wirtz, is probably going to have to come in and do the same thing that his dad did to his grandfather. So, definitely an interesting kind of turning of the tables here. But this is obviously not something really that I wanted to talk about, but I figured I'd give you guys the information. This video might get demonetized because I said what I said. But whatever, that's completely fine. This is a video that I think it had to get mentioned because some people might not talk about it because it is probably a video that gets demonetized and a topic that people kind of want to throw under the table. So guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope things get better in Chicago. I will see you again next time.